John, how are you? Yeah, it's on.
It is now.
Well, on
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday afternoon meeting of the Rotary Club of Tyler. The Rotary Club of Tyler. Welcome to all. It's good to see all of you. Is everybody happy? Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Well, all right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with the meeting. Well, thank Vicki Conway. Another excellent job, ma'am. Thank you. Now we're going to bring up Larry Wicker to lead us in the national anthem and the pledge of allegiance. Let's go, Larry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose rich and bright stars were the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare from the bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Larry. Now let us bring up for our invocation and introductions one of our newer members, Brooks Melton.
Sir, would you please bow your heads? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord God. Thank you for bringing everybody here safe and sound. And Father, we just give you all the praise and the glory, Lord, especially as we get into this new season. We just pray for the health and safety of our members, Father, especially as the times, Lord, that there's a lot of people out sick. So we just pray that you pour your blood and safety and protection over them, Father. And God, I just ask, Lord, that as we go throughout the rest of this day and throughout the rest of this week, Father, I pray, Lord, that you find somebody for us to be a blessing to and to live out the four-way test and to live up to what you've called us to do, Father. And we just give you all the praise and glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, you may be seated. All right, so first off, do we have any visiting Rotarians with us today from any of those other clubs in town or anything like that? So, all right, no, I do believe that Dr. Edwards has a guest, so I will let him introduce.
I'd like to ask Dan Buchanan to stand up and be recognized. He's back visiting with us today. Dan, we're so glad you're here.
All right, thank you. And do we have any guests at any of these back tables back here? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my buddy and fellow Aggie, Ross Hurd.
Thank you for being here with us. Yes,
Hey, Brooks, we
got this young man right here. His name is Blake Bevel. Real nice young fellow. Got to know his parents. Swell guy. He's got somebody get him the application. Oh, you already got it?
Yeah, he's old.
All right. Okay, and at this back table, I don't think we've got anybody back there. All right, and then at this table right up here, Mr. Meyer.
Bill Meyer, you guys know me. I have today with me my guest, Kristen House. She just started at my Allstate Insurance office, and this is her first week, I believe.
Thank you for being here with us today. I think that just about covers everybody, all right? So I will turn it over back to our president.
Thank you, Brooks. Appreciate what you do for the club. And I want to thank our greeter today, Jim Blair Jr. We had another greeter that was scheduled, but she had to bow out. And for this week in history, let's bring up Mr. Paul Glasser.
Thank you, Bill, appreciate it. On the 16th of September, at 1620, only a few of you folks were there, a 90-foot sailing ship called Mayflower set sail from Plymouth, England, bound for Virginia, with Virginia it was bound for, with 102 passengers on board. Storms, heavy seas, and navigational errors blew the ship off course. It made landfall on November 21st. Understand, it left it September 16th. Made landfall November 21st at the tip of Cape Cod in what is now called Provincetown. While on board, the passengers drafted the Mayflower Compact, which would eventually serve as a genesis document for the U.S. Constitution. On the 17th of September, 187 and one day later, 38 of 41 delegates present at the Pennsylvania State House, now called Independence Hall in Philadelphia, signed the final draft of the United States Constitution and sent it to the Confederation Congress for the Congress to send to the states for ratification. That came 9 months later on June 21st, 1788, when New Hampshire approved the document. It's all U.S. history today, folks. On the 18th of September, 1793, George Washington laid the cornerstone of what would become the U.S. Capitol building. Construction, it was a government job. Construction took more than a century and included repairs necessitated by the British having set the building ablaze during the War of 1812 and August of 1814. The building has 540 rooms, covers more than 4 acres, cost a little more than $200 million in today's dollars to build, and now sucks $3.3 trillion per year out of the U.S. economy. On the 19th of September in 1881, President James A. Garfield finally succumbed to gunshot wounds suffered at the hands of disgruntled office seeker Charles Guiteau 80 days earlier on July 2nd. Garfield died of blood poisoning, some say as a result of the treatment he received. Among his physicians, and that's in quotes, was Alexander Graham Bell, who used an early metal detector in a vain effort to locate the bullet. On the 20th of September, 2001, President George W. Bush addressed a joint session of Congress following the 9/11 attacks, and he said, "Freedom and fear are at war. The advance of human freedom, the great achievement of our time, and the great hope of every time, now depends on us." On the 21st of September, 1942, just 288 days after the Japanese bombing in Pearl Harbor, the first Boeing B-29 Superfortress took flight at the Boeing plant in Seattle. The B-29 would bomb Japan into submission, ending in the delivery of the atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August of, hello,
You broke it.
low battery. In August of 1945, 3,970 B-29s were built. 26 remain, 2 of which are in airworthy condition. One of them is at the airport at Addison in North Dallas, and the other is at the Boeing plant in Wichita, Kansas, at which it was assembled. And finally, on the 22nd of September 1975, Sarah Jane Moore came within 6 inches of killing President Gerald Ford outside a hotel in San Francisco. The attempt followed just 17 days after Manson family member Lynette Squeaky Fromm pointed a gun at him in Sacramento. The moral is stay the hell out of California. Birthdays in the coming week. On Saturday, former presidential candidate, a renowned pediatric neurosurgeon, and Secretary of Health and Human Services under President Trump, Dr. Ben Carson, turns 70 on Saturday. On Sunday, Tonight Show host Jimmy Fallon turns 47, not to be confused with Jimmy Fallon, who's on the air on my radio station right now. But a lot of people confuse that. On Monday, Sophia Loren turns 87.
Wow.
Funny man Bill Murray turns 71 on Tuesday. And any Full House fans here?
Oh, yeah.
Uncle Joey, Dave Coulier, turns 62 on Tuesday. And that's this week in history.
Well done, Paul, well done. Okay, Rotary business. Tomorrow, we have our monthly board meeting at the U-Bank. And it's on South Broadway next to Andy's Custard. You don't know where Andy's Custard is? That's a shame.
Yes.
That's just a shame. Okay? What we do is about 11:30, we start to gather, bring your own lunch. If you're not on the board, that doesn't mean that you can't come. Everybody's welcome. You'll have a good time, and if you're not careful, you may learn something about the club and maybe have a laugh or two, okay? Please continue to RSVP Holly for your weekly meetings to ensure your seat. Yes, Holly?
And if you when you come to the board meeting tomorrow, it's upstairs at UBank is the conference room. It's not downstairs, it's upstairs.
Turn it on. I don't think it is. While I try to get the microphone to come on, let me remind you guys, it's a good time to turn your cell phones to vibrate instead of ring, if you haven't done that already. And now I want to bring up Dr. D.M. Edwards for a special presentation.
And if you'll join me up here, President Bill, we'd like to ask Dr. David Nichols to come forward at this time. Many of you give to our Tyler Rotary Foundation, which enables us to help many organizations in our community. And today we are delighted to present to Dr. David Nichols from the Tyler Rotary Foundation. We have a check for $2,000. And this is a check that will do double duty. Not only does it benefit the dental program at Bethesda Clinic here in Tyler, but these funds will be used to help veterans from Camp B here in Tyler. And I'll ask Dr. Nichols will present the check, and we'll ask him to say a few words.
Well, this just came right in time because we're having our clinic tomorrow. We've been doing this for recovery homes, drug addicts, and so forth at Bethesda on Friday mornings. We have 5 Tyler volunteer dentists giving their free time to work on the veterans tomorrow. And we will provide almost whatever dental needs they have. And we pack it in one morning. But we're looking forward to it, and we thank the club for supporting it.
Good work, David, not just to you, but to the other volunteer dentists. A couple of things that I want to just bring up real quick. April brought this up, but what is it, 2 weeks?
October 2nd.
October 2nd, we got Vino for Vets. Stand up, April. Stand up. Stand up. April, we got Vino for Vets. If you have any questions, just call April. She picks up the phone 24/7. You can go over to her house. If you want to do that, okay? And April, thank you for your efforts in this. And I also want to ask Trudy Williams to stand up. Let me pick on you for a minute. Yeah, you knew there'd be a catch somewhere, didn't you? Trudy is the director of Meals on Wheels here in Tyler, and Kim and I are really, really big on doing this. Kim's running a route. This is like her second route this week. I did one Monday. I've got another one next Monday and the Monday after that. They need volunteers desperately. It's not hard to do. You just show up, you bring a cooler with you, and you just drive around. You usually have like 11 or 12 stops, and we really enjoy it. But if you've got some time, get in touch with Trudy or her assistant Donna, and when you get done at the end of your route, you're gonna really, really feel good about yourself, okay? Good work to you guys down there, Trudy. Okay, need your August volunteer hours, please email them to Holly. And next week, September 16th, we're gonna have the Tyler Fire Department out here. What they're gonna do is they're gonna bring a fire engine and maybe some other equipment, and we may chain somebody up to a tree out there and let them demonstrate how the water cannon works. But what we're planning on doing, this is if the weather's good, if they don't get called to a fire or emergency or something like that, we're gonna go out, they're gonna show us how the apparatus works and what all they can do with it. And if it turns out they gotta go to an emergency or something like that, well, Allison and I have got plan B. And that's gonna be a surprise if it gets to that point, okay? All right, and let's go ahead and bring up the world's greatest president-elect, Allison Cameron, to introduce today's speaker. Allison Cameron, ladies and gentlemen.
Such accolades, such accolades. Let's see, let me get the. I'm going to read you a lot about Henry Bell, but let me tell you at the outset, there is a tremendous amount that I cut from what he gave me. He didn't want it all, he didn't want to be embarrassed, but I'm astonished at what all this man has done. Let me start off. Henry Bell is a fifth-generation Tylerite on both sides of his family. That probably gives D.M. Edwards a run for his money, being a fifth-generation Smith County family, too. Henry is a graduate of the University of Texas at Austin with a BBA in finance and marketing. He also graduated from Southwestern Graduate School of Banking at the mighty Southern Methodist University and the Institute of Organizational Management at SMU. Henry received his certified chamber executive from the American Council Chamber Executives Association and is the past chairman of the Texas Chamber of Commerce Executives. He worked for 14 years in what is now Regions Bank in Tyler, and he has been with the Tyler Area Chamber of Commerce for 32 years, where he is currently the president. Henry's been involved in the Tyler community, including serving as the past president, chairman of the American Heart Association, American Red Cross, All Saints Episcopal School, United Way of Smith County, Tyler Rose Festival, Discovery Science Place, and UT Pharmacy School Advisory Board. He's currently on the development boards of both UT Austin and UT Tyler. Henry received the Tyler ISD Distinguished Alumni Award and was the 2019 Junior Achievement Laureate of the Year Award. He and his family have been longtime members of Christ Church here in town. And as I said, there's a lot I left off. I probably left off as much as I read to you, but anyway, it's a lot of pride that I present to you, Henry Bell.
So I've done all those things because I'm so freaking old. Over a period of time, you just absorb all those things. I was actually the president of my first nonprofit, which was American Red Cross. I think I was 28. So I did kind of start early in doing those things, but those of us that are from the baby boomer years, there were so many of us, they just had to start using us and putting us in all those places. And now we're still working because they can't find anybody to replace us. But that's okay, except for Jimmy. I grew up across the street from, I call him Jimmy, maybe nobody else does. Hamburger right over here. He's a couple of years older than me, but we were part of that huge group. So thanks for having me here here today. Hopefully you'll see me more often. I've been trying to come more. I am a member of your club. Poor Allison called me and he said, I wanted to see if you'd come speak to our Rotary Club. I heard you might have a good presentation. Do you know anything about the Rotary Club at all? It's embarrassing for me to tell you that I am a member and a past president. And I'm still here. And I'm sure y'all all heard the thing that I am not only a fifth generation Tyler. I'm a third generation president of this Rotary Club. Both my father and my grandfather were presidents of this particular Rotary Club, which, when that happened, Fran was still involved, and we checked with International, and I'm actually the only one in the entire International. There's some fifth generation presidents, but not of all the same club. You know, one father might have been president in Dallas, and the son in Tyler, that kind of thing. But I'm the only one that's been in all three, and I hate to take, I'm gonna break the streak, I guess, because I don't have any kids or grandkids that live in Tyler. So I guess they can't be president of this club. But
You do it on Zoom or anything else.
yeah. So today, I'm gonna feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but Allison wanted me to talk more about the chamber than the history of Tyler Smith County, which I've done a lot. I've done that a couple of times for this group, and I can come back and do that another time. But he wanted me to talk about the chamber, which is easy for me to do, but I also feel like I'm preaching to the choir today because so many of you in here are so involved with the chamber, so you could probably come up here and give the presentation yourself. As a matter of fact, I have 3 members of my contact club in here, so Robert and Kimberly and Michelle. Kimberly and Michelle are brand new. They're just now starting. Robert's a current member. Tom Perkins is just coming on as a board member. Gates has been the chair of my Energy Summit for 10 years and headed that up. Let's see, who else? George's chaired the medical committee. Ian, you probably chaired the surface or aviation committee. I mean, so all of y'all come up here to give this presentation. You all kind of know what I do. And I've been working the last 7 or 8 years with TYPN, which seems to be that whole table over there. So in fact, I'm helping them work on their budget right after this meeting. Not that group, but another part of them. But so I do love what I do, or I wouldn't have been doing it for 32 years. But the funny thing about that was it certainly wasn't planned. I did grow up in a banking family. I really wasn't ever going to come back to Tyler. I was one of those teenagers that went off and said, never coming back, done that, on to better things, found a whole new world in Austin. But guess what? I came back, and not only did I come back, somehow I became the head cheerleader. So I don't know how that worked out, but it did. But I worked at a bank until the late '80s when the economy was so bad around here. Those of you who remember that, and some of us others that are in the room that are also washed-up bankers like me. So I needed a job, and I had done one of those tests that tells you what you ought to be doing in life at that time, one of those Myers-Briggs or whatever it is. And the number one thing that came back was Chamber of Commerce. And so at that time, I was actually a volunteer doing contact club and stuff at that time with the chamber. I went back and told the guy who was running the chamber, just kind of halfway laughing about it. And about 6 months later, he called me and says, I remember you telling me that, and I have a job. And I went, well, okay, I guess I'll come do that. I mean, in my mind, because I've been in the corporate world so long, that I didn't think working for a nonprofit was a real job. I certainly do now, and I certainly respect you all like at Meals on Wheels and others that run these nonprofits. It's a whole new world out there in a very rewarding career. So I said, okay, I'll come work. I'll have a job. I'll come take that job temporarily until I can find that real job. So I tell people I'm still looking for a real job. I think 32 years later, I'm there forever. It literally, I think. As you know, you met Scott Martinez 2 or 3 weeks ago, who's our new head of our economic development, and is who I work with now at the chamber. I worked with Tom Owens for 30 of those 32 years. And enjoyed that relationship, and I have fallen in love again because it is great to work with Scott. It is a different environment, and I'm sort of re-energized. And so Scott is so excited too about us working together. He says, you can't leave me anytime soon. He says, I want you to work about 12 or 13 more years. And I went, okay, as long as you'll take me, and you all don't mind having a guy running the chamber who's 80. It's just what it would be if I lasted that long. But, so it's been a fun trip and I've thoroughly enjoyed it and think I probably, got landed where it was meant for me to be, which I believe very strongly. So the chamber does a lot of things, and most people will say, what does the chamber really do? And it's a hard question to answer, and I went through this a lot yesterday with Tom in the room when we did some orientation in it. And I told them, I said, I'm going to tell you some of what we do in about 45 minutes, which I realize I don't have that long today, so don't worry. I know the rules of Rotary, believe me. And so, but I've been there 32 years, and I think I might know about 85% of what we do. Now, that sounds strange, but it changes almost every day. If you would come and chat with me for a week, you would see what I mean. I'll show you what my calendar looks like. Monday, let's review it on Friday and see if that really happened or what happened in between, because you'd be surprised on, or maybe not be surprised on what all we do, what people have needs for, what we try to service. The true mission statement of the chamber is to enhance the business environment, improve the economic well-being and the quality of life of all citizens of Tyler and Smith County. We're the Tyler area chamber, so we consider our trade territory basically Smith County. We do work with other chambers in the region, and it's more effective that we do it that way. There are chambers, as you all probably know, in Lindale, which is fully staffed and is probably the most effective one in Smith County outside of Tyler. But there's also a chamber in White House, one in Bullard, and they don't have full-time staffs yet, and so we are constantly working with them, helping them get to a level that hopefully someday they'll have a full-time staff. There's actually a full-time staff in Chandler, and they do a real good job, but they're only going to get so much accomplished without a staff because everybody's a volunteer. Which you heard me talk about the ones in the room, and I didn't point everybody out. A lot of others have been involved with the chamber. We're very volunteer driven. I only have 4 chamber employees, including myself, and 4 Visit Tyler employees. And Visit Tyler is a part of the chamber. And hopefully you've been to our new visitor center that we've had the last couple of years. Also next door to Andy's. It's a shame if you don't know where the downtown Andy's is. You might try that out sometime. If you don't want to get in that long line of driving through, come downtown. You might have to find a parking place, but at least we have a place for you to sit at Andy's downtown. So come on downtown for that. So I manage that function too. So the chamber does several things. It works primarily with the business sector because we're a business organization. Our membership is what funds us. It's all volunteer membership, so we're a nonprofit. We're not a 501c3. We're not a charitable nonprofit. We're a C6, which is a business nonprofit. And the difference is that we have all the benefits of a nonprofit, including not paying sales tax and that kind of thing, and even real estate tax. But if, say, just let me pick someone out. Since Tom's over, or Gates owns a business. If Gates agency wants to make a contribution or belong to the chamber or sponsor something with the chamber, they can take a business deduction on their tax return. If Gates Brailsford individually wants to write me a personal check, he can't take that deduction. That's the main difference between being a C6 and a C3. Other than that, it really doesn't make any difference. But we work with a whole set of what we call a work program. It's again volunteer driven. We have committees that are chaired by volunteers. We have committees that are 25, 30 each that work in different areas. And we work in different areas as the MOT, because he's chaired the aviation committee, we have surface transportation, which is basically highway and rail that we work on. We work in governmental affairs. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm actually a registered lobbyist in the state of Texas. And we lobby issues. We do not play politics. We do not endorse candidates. We don't do anything with candidates all the way from local through the national. So because we have to work with government entities, we're gonna work with whoever's in there the best we can. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not so hard. And I'll divert from that a little bit. Right now, it's been fairly one of the most congenial times since I've been involved in the local area. And you've got a strong city council, a strong set of county commissioners who are working together with the business community to accomplish a lot of things. That is not always true, and it's not true now with some of our neighbors. If you don't have that congeniality of working together, it's really hard to get stuff really accomplished. So we're in good shape with the county and the city, and we're working on a lot of projects. We're working really, really hard, as you've probably seen in a presentation, on the next big thing, which is a new courthouse for downtown. We've worked really hard with downtown and have been very blessed with some investors that have put a lot of money back into downtown. So we're looking forward to that. Another thing on downtown, I can't remember if y'all seen it or not, but hopefully be hearing an announcement soon. But it looks like we're going to have a project move forward that is going to completely enhance the skyline of Tyler much better, and that has to do with the Carlton Hotel. So it looks like something's getting ready to happen with it. Keep your fingers crossed. It's like within a couple of weeks, maybe even an announcement. So we're looking forward to that. So we work in those areas. We work in other areas like energy, which is what Gates will tell you about, because oil and gas is still a huge part of our economy here. Medical, because healthcare is such a huge part of it. We also we have a technology committee, we have a seniors committee. We have a seniors committee because we actually work at recruiting seniors to the area. Now you don't want to become a completely senior community. You want a good mix. But seniors are important in another section of economic development, just like tourism is, because if you have seniors move in the area, they actually bring pension plans, social security, and other means of income to an area. So it's bringing new wealth into the community. They also bring volunteer time, and our studies show from the quality of the seniors that we go after that they will actually help the community grow and vote for bond issues and things like that. But you heard Scott say, well, when he was here a few weeks, that we're one of two communities in the state whose average age is actually going down. That the average age of Tyler is actually only 33. So it's just important for us to work with in workforce development and in growth with organizations like TYP. So we work with the younger generation coming up and the older generation and everything in between to try to get a good mix within the economy. You don't want it all centered around one thing. I mean, healthcare is absolutely huge in our community. It's a third of all our entire workforce. That's a little heavy, and it's going to get heavier with the addition of the new medical school and that kind of thing that comes along with it. But we're not going to turn that down just for that. But what happened in the 80s is we were too oil and gas dependent, which also threw banking and real estate off, and all of it crashed at once. And so you don't want that to ever happen again. We saw some a little bit higher unemployment rates go up during COVID. You know, we saw some 6-7% go up. Believe me, in the 80s, we had 18%. So you really don't know. I get some kind of eerie reminders because it was really, really bad time. There's been kind of a supply and demand problem with everything right now. And so when you see the lines too, and the gas prices going up at the gas tanks, that was kind of one of the first signs back in the early 80s, but hopefully that'll straighten itself back out. You just have to work all together to help accomplish things and move a community grow. And it's all about improving the economy. And we work strongly in areas like workforce and education. And what we do there, we have 2 or 3 what we call sister organizations that are actually housed with us. And one of them is Business Education Council. And we work with businesses to see what their needs are, what their future workforces is, and what skills they need to come directly out of the schools in this area. So we try to put those two things together. We pushed for TISD to get that CTC, the career technology, in place and start putting programs in there. And we review those programs with the businesses all the time. But it's not just with TISD, because I bet most people probably couldn't guess how many ISDs we actually have in Smith County. We have 8. Some of them you don't even realize, because even part of Van and Gladwater ISDs are in Smith County, up in the northern corners there. But, and then of course you've got the ones that are more obvious in the White House and Lindales and Bullards, even Art and Overton have a piece and Troop have a piece in Smith County. So we have to work with all of those, Chapel Hill, Winona. It seems kind of incredible that we would have that many ISDs in a county of our size. And speaking of size, and Jimmy and I were sitting here over talking about it. When I graduated from high school, which was about 3 years before he did, the population in Tyler was less than 50,000 people. The new census is 108. Smith County was like about 65,000, and it's coming in at 233 for 2020. So that's amazing how the face of a community can change so much in, to me, a shorter period of time, which is basically 50 years. And what it'll go forward, looking like in the future. That's what we have to work for. Actually, done a pretty good old time here. I have lots and lots of stories too. I'm just trying to think of things that you might not know of, that we do, and interesting stories. And one thing that we're very blessed with, and we're very, very fortunate that the past leaders were so visionary in making sure that we had plenty of water in this area. And many places in the state of Texas do not have enough water and need it. East Texas is a little bit more blessed, but there was a lot of long-term planning, and one of them, an example of that is like Palestine. Again, I hate to go back 50 years, but literally when I graduated from high school, Lake Palestine was not there. Also, the mall and everything south of Loop 30-23 was not there. As a matter of fact, Broadway was 2-lane from that point on. That was just 1972, you all. So that, to me, that's not that long ago. But Lake Palestine had been in the stages of being planned for a long time. And Tyler stayed right in the middle of that planning, and made sure that we got a portion of those water rights. So the city of Tyler owns 40% of the water rights in Lake Palestine. Like the city of Palestine owns 10. And then some other smaller communities own a little bit 10, but the other 40% was originally owned by Dallas. Dallas decided they were doing a little bit better than their neighbor to the west, Fort Worth. So several years ago, Fort Worth bought the water rights from the city of Dallas. And just in the last year and a half, Fort Worth finished their pipeline to Lake Palestine, and now is using water out of Lake Palestine. And the pipeline is huge. You can drive an 18-wheeler down the middle of it. Now, they are restricted to how much water they can pull out, and we still need a lot of rain to keep that source going. That's the kind of planning you gotta go. Think about the majority of the city of Tyler's water is now coming out of Lake Palestine. What if we didn't have that, right? We would still be getting water out of Lake Tyler, and Bellwood was our original source before we had Lake Victory. Does anybody know where Lake Victory was? And you can't say. And Jack can't say either. He knows more about history than I do. Lake Victory was our original source. Have you ever been to what is now UT Health? You know the Olympic Center is. It goes from UT Health. You go down that hill, and there's a bunch of doctors' offices called Turtle Creek. That's where Victory Lake was. As a matter of fact, Robert, you live on Victory, don't you? Robert lives on Victory Drive. Yeah. So, and we also have been very involved in the development of Lake Columbia. And Lake Columbia doesn't exist. but it's being planned and it's recently gotten approved. It's in Cherokee County, just outside of Smith County, near Troop. And we're going to end up most likely with a piece of water of that lake too. Without that lake, we have enough water supply to last the city of Tyler for another 100 years. So hopefully I don't have to worry about whether we're going to have enough water or not, but we're worried about what's going to happen in the next 100 years. And hopefully we'll get part of Lake Columbia. So I'm gonna tell you a couple other, some of my favorite stories. One of the things I did, I started saying, and I've started writing down for years, and I kind of got Tom Owens into doing it too, is that we really get people call and ask us everything. As a matter of fact, I told the front desk we were going to change her name to answer the phone, this is Miss Google. Because she can find the answer most of the time with Google if they don't know it. But people literally think they should call our office for every little single thing. You know, what time does CVS open on Saturday? You know, things like that. But then, and she'll go sometimes when it's so obvious like that. Well, just a minute, let me Google it for you. Like, do you have a computer? I mean, let us look it up for it. So whenever we get a call that's really unusual, I always say, that's one for the book. And I write it down, and I'm kind of saying someday I'm going to try to write a book of all those unusual calls and requests. But seriously, I do tell the employees, I said, you know, if people go to the trouble to pick up the phone and call, they have a need, they have something that they want to take care of. And if it is as silly as it could possibly be, as ridiculous as it can be, or pretty serious as it could be, do not hang out with them without giving them the answer or referring them to somebody that can give them the answer, because as silly as it may be, they still need to know it. So one of my favorite stories is I actually used to go sit up on the front desk every once in a while just to be entertained, really, and answer the phone and see what some of the questions were. So I got one day. And this is going to be a whole chapter for my book. And this lady called and she said, yes, I wanted you to help me. I'm coming to Tyler for the weekend. We have reservations at a Tyler State Park. And we're real excited. The whole family's coming. We've been waiting for a long time. And I'm trying to get organized to get there and get some supplies before we come. Could you tell me what the space is between the prongs on the grills at Tyler State Park? And I went, ma'am, I don't know that. Without having to do some research. I wasn't going to tell her no, but I said, well, do you mind me asking you why you need to know that? That might help me find the answer for you better. She said, well, I was going to go get hot dogs, and I wanted to make sure I got them thick enough they wouldn't fall through. I am not exaggerating. That's what the lady said. After I picked the phone back up, I said, well, man, did you ever think you could turn the hot dogs the opposite way? Oh, that's right. Well, I knew y'all know the answer. Thank you very much. That is a true story. I mean, you would be shocked at what else. That's one of my favorite ones that I can remember. You know, the front desk one day got a call and said, hey, we saw on the news last night on TV that one of the stores here in Tyler has got Pampers, diapers on sale. Can you tell us which one it was? Well, no, we don't know that. And she talked to her a little bit longer, and she said, do you happen to know what newscast you were watching? And she told us who the talent was, and the front desk recognized it and said, oh, that was KLTV. Let me give you KLTV's number, and you can call them and ask them the diapers on sale. So, you know, like I said, it is quite comical. So your president is standing up, which means I have to finish up. But
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Y'all want to ask me questions because there's so much more I haven't covered.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Somebody calls you about the hot dogs, say, hey, that's a state park, call Matt Schaefer's office.
Oh, believe me, they get those kind of calls too. Yes, Bob. Bob's a volunteer. He's on a couple of committees and very active.
Question for you, with all your background and experience in history, what's your crystal ball look like for the next 10 years? 10 years from now, what's Tyler going to look like?
And he was at a meeting last week at my office, and he sort of forewarned me he was going to ask that question, which I probably went back to my office and forgot. So I don't know, 10 years from now might actually not be that hard to predict. I think you're going to see a open and waiting list medical school in Tyler for sure in 10 years. You're going to see the economic impact of that medical school that kind of revetted throughout the community. And when I say that, there's all kinds of things that will have to service a medical school that brings new things to your community. Ask any town that has a medical school. And so you'll see a lot of effects from that, which will also mean you'll probably see the main campus at UT Tyler's student population considerably go up in the next 2 years, maybe even double. I think we could probably check that. That is one of the fastest growing campuses in the UT system. Most of the other ones are so large they're capped, so that's one of the reasons they're so largely growing. But the state of Texas is just exploding, and so you'll probably see that too. I think you'll continue to see an improvement in downtown. Let's see, 10 years from now, we're probably not going to have the election for that new courthouse for another 2, thanks to COVID. Maybe a year and a half. We maybe get it in next year, but we had some other priorities we had to do first. But I think in 10 years you'll probably see that new courthouse. And if you haven't seen the plan for it, it is a game changer for downtown, along with this Carlton project. And some of these projects are spinning off each other. One of the selling points for the people that are getting ready to do this project with the Carlton is the medical school and its proximity of downtown to the medical community. They haven't publicly, I don't think, announced where the medical school is going to be, but the initial building is going to be in that piece of property right across from the Olympic Center next to UTL. There were the original, what I call it, the original Trinity Clinic, or whatever we called that before. It's Trinity Clinic. I can't remember now, but that's where that'll be. So actually the medical and the downtown, and you end up blending in because the medical connects, as you know, with Tyler Junior College, which is somewhat landlocked too. We're having to work on that to help them. The junior college, the TJC main campus, and another trivia for you, the TJC main campus is the largest single junior college campus, single meaning all one location. If you take West Campus out of it, but the main campus is the single largest junior college campus in the country. Most junior colleges have multiple campuses. You go to the one in Austin and it's all over the place. It's not one large college feel kind of campus. So, yeah. So, did I answer that?
Yes.
For you? Robert?
Yes, in terms of size and ranking, what are we like, 12 to 15th biggest chamber in the state?
Oh, you brought it down a little bit, so you baited me for that question too. Well, you'll hear some people say that we're the third largest state chamber in the state of Texas, and at one point that was true. I haven't actually monitored it in a while, and I know that sounds crazy, but one of the reasons it is, and I'm not discounting it, is the fact that when you get to your metroplex areas like Dallas and Houston, they've got 35 chambers. When you get to an area like ours, which has all kinds of advantages for other things, just chambers, we have much more our own identity. We have our own media market in Tyler. We have 3 TV stations here. If you were in Plano, you don't have one. Or you're in Frisco, you don't have one. So we have some identity by being just far enough away from Dallas and Shreveport to have our own markets and a lot of things.
Radio station.
And radio station too. How can I forget you, Paul? I mean, Paul's probably the oldest radio station East Texas period, would you think?
1947, yeah.
I bet it has to be.
TTBVA will be the oldest license.
Wow.
Thank you, Henry. You know what the last for me is, on behalf of the club, I want to present this to you. We're going to donate a book in your name to the Literacy Council of Tyler.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate everything you've done for our community.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you. Henry Bell, ladies and gentlemen.
Next week's fire truck sounds a little bit more fun than this, so I'll probably be back.
Okay, you're welcome anytime. I want to bring Mary Birch up now. Yes, Mary, come on up. By the way, Henry, you know one of the nicest things about living in Austin?
What's that?
Doesn't take you long to get to Texas.
No.
Come on up here, Mary. You recently won the Ace of Diamonds Award, so it's $430. Here's your check.
Thank you.
I called your husband Henry this morning and told him you won that. He said, thanks, Bill. She never said a thing. All right. Okay. Now, this is the Ace of Diamonds Award.
Okay.
After the drawings for the club, well, you know what it's all about.
Yeah, I don't have my glasses on.
Last three numbers?
Yes, last three.
687.
687. He's got it.
All right.
Okay. Three hearts. Okay, not even close. Okay, guys, it's been a great meeting. It's been good to see everybody. And I'd like to ask all of us to stand so that we can recite the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do as Rotarians. First,
Is it true?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
fourth,
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
and we are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen.